Council, you're live.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I will call the meeting to order rather, and ask the clerk for a roll call.
Councillor Shortreed,
Present.
Councillor Dayu,
Present.
Deputy Mayor Danielson,
Present.
Mayor Moffat.
Present. Thank you. Item number 3 is our land acknowledgement. And we respectfully acknowledge that the Township of Algonquin Highlands is located on Treaty 20 Mississauga territory and in the traditional territory of the Mississauga and Chippewa nations. Sorry, I should be wearing glasses. My apologies. Collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations, which are Curve Lake, Rama, Hiawatha, Alderville, Scugog Island, Beausoleil, and Georgina Island First Nations. We acknowledge a historical shared presence of Indigenous nations throughout the area and recognize its original Indigenous inhabitants as the stewards of its lands and waters since time immemorial. Item number 4, may I have a mover and a seconder for the approval of the agenda? Deputy Mayor Danielson and Councillor Shortreed.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Danielson, second by Councillor Shortreed, be it resolved that the December 20th, 2021 special council meeting agenda be approved.
All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Are there any declarations today of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. New business, just the one item, and I'll turn it over to the CAO.
Yes, thank you. So as council knows, the province has issued some restraints and restrictions due to the Omicron variant. And as a result of that, the health unit has issued a letter of instruction that we've received on Friday. And that includes the recommendation to move all employees to work remotely. So the purpose really of this meeting today is to ask council support to send staff who can work from home to do so, and ask a couple of questions around, do we want to close the office, restrict access to appointment only, and also for whether or not the EOC will start meeting again.
So the EOC can meet regardless of, council doesn't decide that. I think that's not really a council decision, but I think the EOC could convene if necessary. I mean, the original point of this meeting was to get ahead of any direction of the health unit, and they provided it late in the day, Friday, I think it was. So we just went ahead with the meeting. So what does council think about the any other measures in terms of restricting access? Before Jen, I do see your hand. What are the other municipalities doing? Because we've been trying to be in lockstep with our municipal neighbors throughout this. So what are they doing?
I do know that Highlands East met last week as their EOC met, and they are restricting access to the municipal office to appointment only, and they have they are not accepting any rentals for the recreation facilities. Don't know yet about the other municipalities.
Considering we had just made the decision about our facilities, would we, if council says, well, let's suspend that for now and just see how it plays out, would we have to rescind that resolution, or would we just delay it? Because I think there were some timelines attached to that.
And I'll look to Dawn on that, but I would suggest that council would rescind it or reword another resolution to delay it and revisit it in the new year, depending on how things roll out. But I would look to Dawn on that.
Yes, that's what we could do.
And are you saying that we could reword that today, or because there wasn't a fixed date, like it didn't say that something was going to open on January 7th, for example. It was just as soon as was reasonable. Was it not? Mm-hmm. So I would think that language would cover us without I just kind of feel like now we're getting like death by detail here.
Right.
Without a specific date having been named in a resolution, I don't know that it matters. What does council think?
No.
Jen, you had your hand up.
Thanks. Yes, no, on that point, I think the language very much covers us. I do believe the language says, as is appropriate or as we can do, or there's some couching in reality in that language, and I feel it probably covers us just fine. As for the further measures to, for example, restrict folks coming to the office, I think that's absolutely the way to go myself. Society is more than familiar with these sorts of measures now, has come to expect it. This is a variant that seems to pass all sorts of barriers that others weren't passing before. And it's in the best interest of our staff, certainly, to just revert back to what society already is used to until the next step, whatever that might be.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think too, I do agree with you, and I think Angie and or Dawn can speak to. There are not hundreds of people going to the township office every day. I mean, how many people do you get? And we went to extreme lengths to successfully move so much of our business online where possible. That I think, as you note, Councillor Dayu, people can probably just shift back. And I think we built that resilience into that entire discussion format. Okay, so I think you're going to hear from Deputy Mayor Liz.
Yeah, you were asking what the other municipalities were doing. I just wanted to let you know that the county EOC did meet last Wednesday and talked about the eventuality of sending people, to work from home if that was at all possible. So everybody who's going home for holidays now is taking equipment with them and everything that they need to work remotely for now. And we'll just be seeing people by appointment only. So, we're on the same path. And we've agreed to have another EOC meeting on Wednesday. The question about whether or not we needed to make a declaration came up, and I don't think we're ready or that's necessary at this point in time. But we're going to continue to revisit that as more information comes out, because I've got a feeling this is going to move quickly.
I agree, and that's the beauty of the EOC is it can meet in an hour, whereas the council has to meet in has to give 24 hours notice, a minimum. So there's lots of there are lots of examples from the previous go round where meetings were called very quickly because the province, had to recalibrate what it was doing and gave this direction and that direction, and it was kind of crazy making. So we know how to do the office thing. So I think you're hearing support for that. What else did you need to know, Angie? I'll go back to Liz for a second, and then back to you, Angie.
Oh, just a comment that it's unfortunate that the province has not come out with more clear direction, that they've, sort of put it in the hands of each of the health units. And so we're going to have different situations in every different health unit area. It just makes it confusing for people.
Yeah, and we'll have to, that's a very good point. We'll have to keep our eye on what Simcoe Muskoka is doing in terms of our relationship with Lake of Bays and Dorset, because we did have some challenges previously when the province was doing the color coding, and Simcoe Muskoka was a red zone, and we were a yellow or an orange, and yet we have shared assets, particularly the park. So that we'll rely on Chris to keep in touch. I think he's still meeting with that roundtable, is he not? That recreation roundtable that was set up, yeah. So
Yes,
we'll rely on him to let us know about that. Jen.
Apologies. Did you want to go to Angie first?
Oh, yes, that's right. Thank you for your help there. Going back to Angie.
I was just looking for council's input on timelines. If the county's if staff are working this week and then staying home after the Christmas holidays, is that the intent for us as well? Or are we giving a couple of days and sending people home? And then also around outdoor rinks. I haven't heard any restrictions yet on those, but that may be the case. So we will have to watch that. And I mean, the weather isn't playing out very well for our rinks anyways, but just to be aware of that.
Jen's going to say something. Go ahead, Jen.
I'm actually following quite closely onto that. Angie, if I might ask you, the Trails office currently, well, maybe not currently, but as the ski season progresses, what happens at the Trails office if we've closed the municipal building with regards to renters, et cetera?
If I may,
Yeah, go ahead.
what we've done in the past, because we were in this situation last year as well. The Trails office is closed, so patrons can't come in to the office. But what staff do is they set up an area outside where they can be served outside when they can appropriately distance. And Chris generally works from home, so. But they've got a good system there that they can set up fairly quickly.
Yeah, and that's, as I was saying, that's the beauty of there's no beauty in this whatsoever. That's not what I mean. It is that because we have done this successfully all last year, that staff can just like switch hats and go back to that. I think, Angie, to your question about how quickly, it's a funny time of year where people are maybe on holidays this week, or there may be shortened work weeks. In terms of what happens this week, I guess it depends if there are any appointments booked, which there probably aren't very many.
I'm not aware of that many. I'd have to check with staff to see what it looks like at the moment. There are a number of department heads that are on vacation.
Yeah, well, the limits came into effect, it says here, they're in effect right now. So then I would think that instead of, pulling the fire alarm and sending everybody home in a hurry, I would think that those staff who are working this week would seem reasonable to let them gather what they need and go as they need to go. I mean, somebody might have something on their desk that they want to finish up. Small office, not everybody's there. There's glass in place. You've got your own internal protocols in place for masking and hand washing, sanitizing joint assets, bathrooms and counters and things like that. I think it's fair to rely on those folks who need to work in that space to govern and manage themselves as they see. If somebody wants to pack up and go today, then I guess they could pack up and go today. Like, would council support that? Sort of letting folks just manage themselves instead of us or anybody saying you have to do this or that. These are all grown adults who have managed themselves in a shared workspace for over a year. So I think they can manage their own time. Is that helpful for you, Angie?
It absolutely is, yes. I guess the only other question is, we will need to do a media release on this, I'm assuming. So that sometimes takes some time to put together for staff. When does council want to actually sort of shut the door to the offices for appointment only?
I would think that would be immediately. I doubt someone's going to phone today and say, I need to see the building inspector. But I guess that was my comment around, are there existing appointments that need to be held? Are there existing appointments that can be moved to a telephone or a Zoom meeting? Go ahead. And
we would still, if it's council's wish, we would still accept appointments. But they would need to be, like, we wouldn't be able to have someone in the building department, someone in the planning department at the same time, and someone at the counter. So it would just be one at a time, but we'd still be able to facilitate those if they exist, and we've managed that before, so.
Mm-hmm. So what would council like to do in terms of the timing of the appointments, just reflective of what I just said in terms of if a meeting has to be held, there can't be others around it, and I mean, they know how to do this stuff in that workspace, so just govern yourself accordingly. Yeah. But I would say the moving to appointments would be immediately in accordance with the direction that was given, notwithstanding anything that's difficult to change because it's in place or there's I think you're allowed to have a little few crumbs around the edges there.
Yeah.
Would you, I'm seeing nodding head, so I guess that's it. And you've got like PPE is still all in place and the systems are all there. Liz, go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if our public works guys are still following protocols about, not having two people in a vehicle unless absolutely necessary, and so I'm assuming that if they have to go to work, that they'll follow those protocols.
Yes. Now this time of year, they are generally one in a truck anyways because they're plowing. If they're in a pickup, there are occasions where they ride two in a vehicle, but they are masked, and those protocols are all still being followed.
And presumably there would be an internal reminder about all of this for Public Works and for fire.
Yes.
And whoever else might be affected by that.
Absolutely.
Okay, Councillor Dayu.
Would it be appropriate to form a resolution that just says revert back to best practices from the past 2 years and govern yourselves according to what you know to be those best practices, rather than breaking down for council, each little piece of it? We're the last ones to the table in a way. The EOC has been guiding this process very, very well. Staff really understand, from what I'm aware, their roles and responsibilities there. So can we just say, let's revert back to best practice?
Yeah, I'm sure that's Don. That's probably around the lines that, Don, what does your resolution say?
The draft just directs that the township office be closed and that staff that can work remotely from home, and that staff that can work remotely work from home.
And so to Jen's point, then maybe just add, and that other measures be implemented as has been done in the past. And then that just covers off that little piece. Then that includes, because Public Works can't work from home and fire can't work from home, but that does just cover that little bit at the end to say that, reverting back or an assurance that those measures will be undertaken by all. And I think that would probably just cover it off. Anything else you need us to talk about, Madam CAO, around this?
No, I think that's all I need at this point. Thank you.
Yeah, this should put this should just put it in place until or unless anything changes, and we'll have to just wait and see what happens there, because as we know, it's a continually shifting landscape. Kind of can make you crazy. Deputy Mayor Danielson.
So because of that, assuming that things ramp up and get worse, I'm thinking that it'll just be a matter of the EOC meeting and talking about any details that are needed.
Yeah, if there's any shift that's going to affect anything more than has been affected now with this with these measures, then yeah, the EOC can just meet just like that and address those things.
Okay.
But it would be similar to last time where, as has been noted, that it's a matter of everybody knows what they're doing. It's like it's getting out your winter coat. Oh, it's winter, I'll put my winter coat on. So no COVID protocols, I'll just get that binder out. So thankfully that work is already done. It worked well. And I don't think it'll be, if it does get worse, I don't think it will be anywhere near the kind of hair tearing out decisions that we were trying to make, because as soon as you made a decision, then they changed it and then you had to make another one, or they made it before your meeting date was scheduled and you had to schedule a meeting in about 2 hours. So I think we'll be fine. Okay, so is that it then? Yes. Then may I have a mover and a seconder for the resolution around this? Deputy Mayor Danielson and Councillor Dayu.
Deputy Mayor Danielson, second by Councillor Dayu. Be it resolved that council directs the township offices be closed to the public and staff that can work remotely work from home, and that all previous measures and protocols be followed.
All in favor? I was gonna change that. It doesn't matter. Okay, may I have a mover and a seconder for the confirmatory bylaw? Deputy Mayor Danielson and Councillor Shortreed.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Danielson, second by Councillor Shortreed, be it resolved that bylaw 2021-149 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council held during its December 20th, 2021 special meeting be received and read first time, considered read a second and third time, and finally passed with the corporate seal affixed.
All in favor? That is carried, and adjournment. May I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Shortreed, Deputy Mayor Danielson.
Moved by Councillor Shortreed, second by Deputy Mayor Danielson, be it resolved that council adjourns a special meeting at 9:20 a.m.
All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Well, this hopefully this is it. So I would just wish each of you and your families a Merry Christmas, best of the holiday season, and stay safe, stay warm, and be happy.
Same to all.
Happy holidays.
Bye. Time for coffee now.